Hey guys, it's Everett. It's February 3rd. It's a Tuesday, I believe, and it's about 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, of course. So today I'm making a video on name stuff. It's been an ongoing request for a while now. I'm going to talk about choosing a name, how you know if a name's right for you, name disconnect, identity stuff, and what to do if people use the wrong name. So I chose my name, Everett, on my own, and it happened to have the same first syllable as my birth name. I mean, first syllable, that'd be weird. First letter, initial, that's the word I was looking for, as my birth name. So it made it easier in a time of transition to use that before I got my name legally changed on paperwork, documentation, papers, whatever it may be. It just made it easier to say, like, well, that's not your legal name. Well, actually it is if I'm just using this initial. So that's sort of what I was doing for a while. Something that I constantly kept hearing, the name Everett, and I really liked it. So I tried it out for a little bit. I was going by Everett and my birth name, and then I sort of hit this point where I was like, I really don't like being called female, and I really don't identify with this name anymore. I prefer Everett. So that's when the transition happened. I wanted something gender neutral, just to sort of make things easier, I think, for everybody. And then I was sort of like, actually, I really like this name, so I'm gonna go with Everett. And that's how it came to be. So, you know, if you feel particularly attached to your initials, you can do that. Or if you have a good relationship with parents, guardians, figures, mentors, whatever it may be, or your friends, you want them to name you, that's something that you can always do. You have a certain heritage, ethnicity, religion, something that's a strong name within that, go for it. If you were born in a certain year and you want to see what names are popular in that year, look for that. There's a whole bunch of ways that you can come up with a name. And I think during this time, you change your name. It's okay to experiment. It's okay to try other names, see what's comfortable. And I think there's going to be a little bit of disconnect with your identity, former name. For one, I think with transition, and this has been shown through studies that, or one study I can think of, that there's a trend within the community to, specifically FTM community, to reject this former sense of self. So deleting old pictures that look a certain way, you don't want to be seen as, names, whatever it may be. So in the beginning of transition, I can definitely speak on that and say I did everything I could to reject that former sense of self. So deleting pictures, untagging myself from pictures, erasing any trace of this former identity that I could, and which now, later in transition, I don't see that as big of a deal. So I think that comes into play a little bit when changing your name, but it's also okay to not feel that this name is not right for you. I think that you should have that feeling of a name resonating within you, and that if you don't, it's okay to try another name. Or if your parents are naming you something, you don't like your name. Sometimes we don't like our names that we were given at birth anyways, or maybe we really do. So I think you can kind of play along with that. If you're coming up with it with friends, you should feel comfortable with your name. I think if you're going to spend the money to legally change it, you should feel secure about your name, and if you don't, experiment and try new stuff out. So that's name stuff in general. And being called the wrong name, I think that it's okay to advocate for yourself. And it may get really frustrating, it may get really fucking annoying, it may feel at times like you're getting slapped in the face, but it will take time for some people, unfortunately. I've sort of mentioned this perspective on both sides to a parent, guardian, why it's important to validate and respect someone's identity and respect their name and how important that is to their whole sense of self and gender and whatever it may be. And I've also reframed the perspective for somebody who's transitioning. I've been there. I know what it's like. I know that it fucking sucks. But I also understand how a parent would cope with somebody transitioning, their child transitioning. Think about somebody who you've known for your entire life, somebody who you raised, and now you have to switch to calling them a different name, calling them different pronouns. that's hard for anyone to do unless you're immersed within trans life. I can sort of switch pronouns like that. But if you aren't, which most people aren't, it's difficult to make that transition, and especially for somebody like a parent, they have to mourn the loss of this child that they perceived to be, because parents do that regardless of gender. They picture your future and all these things they have for you and all these ideas and how they wish for you to be. So they have to let go of that, and they have to let go and sort of see that your life may not be the way that they pictured it, and you also may be going through a life that is more difficult for most. So keep that in mind with your name, but I think you should definitely continue to advocate for yourself, especially if others are not. And, you know, have patience, take a deep breath, correct people, and if you feel comfortable, explain why this is so important, why having the correct name and people using the correct name validates the identity and how important that is to your sense of self. So that's all I got for today. 6 minutes long. I'm really sorry. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, any comments, things you want to add to this, feel free. Comment below. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.